Game of the year. Okay. Upload this bitch. Get my fucking coffee ready. I could tell you that much. All right, go in here. Join. I got to mute that. Okay. A request from Fato. Fato, what's going on, bro? What's going on? Energy code. What's up, bro? So what has happened to you, man? I heard some shit.
I was in the hospital for a couple of days. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I just had to deal with a really nasty skin infection on both my left and my right leg that I let go for a little too long. I didn't say anything publicly wise about it because I didn't want anybody to be worried for me and shit. I was more worried about me going and getting myself checked out because I was worried about finding other things out. You know what I mean? Because I haven't seen a doctor in a fucking long time. But I finally caved in. You know, took it like a man and went and got myself freaking checked out, and I'm really glad that I did.
I bet you would fucking hurted it. That's why you got it.
No. It was just it was getting to the point where fucking it was making it hard for me to walk around without my legs fucking like feeling a certain like too tight. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
I mean,
And I don't know, but either way, I'm glad that I caved in. I went to the clinic. The clinic didn't even do shit. They took one look at it and they sent me straight to the hospital. They paid for my cab fare and everything. I was there for 3 days. They put me on antibiotics, IV, for 3 days. Took my blood work and all that crap with that, which is what really made me fucking terrified. Only to come to find out that I'm perfectly fucking fine. Have no breathing problems. My heart rate's fucking perfectly normal. My blood pressure was a little bit high, but that's to be expected. And yeah, me being on that IV for 3 days straight, and trust me, that 3 days was boring as fuck. It was only my phone to have as like any form of entertainment. Well, the Wi-Fi at the hospital though is 10 times better than the fucking Wi-Fi here at the hotel.
This dude.
Yeah, I was playing some XCloud on that shit. But either way, I'm fine. Nobody has to worry about anything as long as I just keep fucking taking my freaking medication and whatever the case may be. I'll be fine.
That's good shit.
Yeah, man.
That's good shit. That's good. Yo, Energy Code, what's going on with you, buddy?
Yo, Gamecast, what's up, man? How you doing? Just been getting my ass kicked at Elden Ring.
What up, cheat code?
Yo.
I was getting fucking destroyed at work, man. I didn't have time to do nothing, man. I couldn't even make my little thumbnail.
Man.
As simple as it is. I'm like, dang, God.
Yeah, I shelved Horizon to focus. You know, I had to take a break off Horizon, but
yeah, I know that you were having some issues with Horizon.
Yeah, it just wasn't piquing my interest right now. I think I need to come back to it like at another time.
Hey, you know, it's funny because I beat it, but I rushed through it on my first playthrough just so I could play Elden Ring. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm sorry, dude.
You don't gotta apologize to my ass. I can tell you that much. Listen, you do you. If you enjoy that shit, you enjoy it. You enjoy it.
I'm sorry, dude, but I couldn't pass on the opportunity to play another Elder Scrolls or not Elder Scrolls. From
Give me a
software.
second, guys. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Somebody tell me, how do you beat this stupid ass guy with the shield and the spear in like
the beginning of the area, right?
And like, yeah, towards the beginning, like I can clear that whole area out.
Are you talking about the tree sentinel?
Yeah, no. Well, who else has a spear?
No, it's not even a boss. It's just like there's a. Let me hold on. I have it right in front of me. I'll tell you the.
Oh, you talk about the area with the fucking
Oh gosh, it's just soldiers.
It's like a
limb grave. I think no, it's a fort.
That's the main area. But like it's you're in that
He's talking about that
abandoned camp looking thing.
The fort. Yeah, he's talking about the fort that's like
everybody else is there. If you can't beat him, man, the only recourse is to get this. It's the only recourse, my dude.
Listen, Inner Cheat, man. When I tell you this, dude, straight up, Inner Cheat, listen to this, dude, man. There are plenty of builds that are out there, right, that are so fucking broken in that game. You can literally like two-shot bosses, dude. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I've seen
What
No,
about
look,
this guy right here, right? So like I can clear every single enemy out, but the guy with the spear and he's like aggressive as shit, and like you can't backstab him.
no,
Yeah,
because
I know. I know what
you
you're
don't
talking about. I know what you're talking
you
about.
don't know how you don't have as much like poise to like you have to stagger him, but like his stagger shit is like way high. Like you're too weak for him. You
So
could get him. It just takes time to get him. You know.
Yeah.
so is the strategy though just to stagger him? Because when I do my perfect blocks on him, that motherfucker just eats him up.
He eats through him. Yeah, it's not. That's not the end game at all.
No, not even close though.
The way that the Souls games work is it works almost like you gotta wait your turn like a fighting game.
Oh, it's called Gatefront Ruins,
Yeah,
by the way.
I know what you're talking about. See, but that's what makes Elden Ring so freaking unique and fun, though, for me, though, man. Like the fact that that premise to what you just said, Josh, but now done in an open world instead of a linear fashion, right? So, like,
It was
there's
always
a
like
lot of
that though.
areas. Yeah, there's a lot of areas. Well, I didn't run into any bugs during my playthrough, but again, I'm mainly playing the last gen version because I'm on the Series S, so that's why I didn't really experience any issues. But that aside, like it's fascinating to like, okay, cool. Like obviously this guy's too tough for me, man. I'm under leveled, I'm under geared. I don't have the right setup for my character. I'll come back and finish this guy at a later date. And that's one of the things that I truly respect about open world games, man, is that it makes you want to go back and try another goddamn attempt because you upgraded yourself, you got some better freaking poise now, that kind of shit. Then you go and give it another shot. And then if you beat him, then there you go, problem solved. If you didn't, then
Well,
you're not quite there yet.
if you be there's people that can run around and I have other topics to talk about, but there's people that can run around in their panties and a
Yeah, but
bandage.
those are people that know the games inside and out that can read every fucking move.
So
Like you can see the coming from advance, dude.
yeah, the game has patterns, and a lot of the
Yes.
times the biggest issue with Souls people that play Souls games is or have trouble playing Souls games is patience.
Yep.
If you can't rush it. So a lot. Go on, man.
No,
You just try to
I was
regurgitate right
no.
now.
I'm just gonna say really quick, just to add to that.
Game.
No, I'm sorry, dude. I love this game so much. But the best way to sum it up, man, is if you ever played Punch Out when you were a kid, that's Dark Souls in a nutshell. You gotta learn the patterns. Once you learn the patterns, man, you'll get through every boss like fucking cakewalk, dude.
So
honestly, the armor that's in the game is fucking pointless to you. It's just there's a little extra freaking coverage for your ass. So it's all about your skill.
So basically, what you're telling me is that it's not as innovative as what people say, right? Because they've been doing
no, it's not innovative from its combat perspective, but it is innovative.
30 years ago they did it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I can argue that, but what I will tell you though is that I never want to go back and play a linear Souls type game again after playing Elden Ring. Like Elden Ring is done so well.
See, but that's you. There's so many people. But I ain't gonna get into that. My whole point is this. I don't want to be derailed.
No, sorry, my bad.
We have anyway. Welcome to the No Filter Podcast. This is also being streamed on YouTube at Gamecast as well. So you'll be able to find that there. It's actually recorded. Everything is fine. We normally talk about two topics here, and my topics are a little bit obscured in a way, or they're positioned in such a way where it's not a direct subject, for better or for worse. I know a lot of people like to talk directly about some sort of news, and I like to talk about more of the intricate things about this game. What's going on? Gears of all. Sup? So the things I'm going to be talking about is Sony and their success and what they do. Not necessarily how much they sold, but what they do is the question. I feel like chicken tonight. No. I feel, let me turn up. No, I don't need to turn it up. Everything's turned up all the way. Okay. I mean, everything's fine here. Okay. I feel like when somebody or something is successful, you're going to get haters. That's just what it is. Now, there are many ways to success. There is the right way of being successful, and there is the instant gratification, wrong way of being successful. One of them has longevity, and the other does not. And what we're going to talk about is what Sony has been doing, and just a lot of the backlash that Sony has been going through, and the reasoning as to why. So that's the teacher's pet situation. That is, Sony seemingly is the teacher's pet of gaming. They are overachievers, and apparently it is irritating people so much because they overachieve. Now, our second topic is going to be your game of the year so far. I know we're in March. We might as well get it out of the way. There's going to be several game of the year situations that we're going to be talking about, and I'm just curious as to what is your game of the year so far and why. Without further delay, we're going to be talking about Sony being the teacher's pet. So, what I mean by Sony being the teacher's pet, right? Um, we look at the games that they release, and of course, Metacritic is always going to be a thing. So it's always going to be somebody's talking about Metacritic and how well it's going to do or how well it did. And I'm noticing just like Sony seems to be trapped in the 80s, 8 out of 10s and 9s out of 10s. And then you go read some reviews, and some of those reviews don't align with what everyone else says. You know, some sort of bogus ass shit that people talk about within their games. Whether it's they talk about SJW and then they drop the score, or they talk about bugs in one game and don't talk about bugs in the other. What do you have to say, Energy Code? You seem to be itching for an adventure today.
Let's see. I mean, I think you're right. There's always going to be haters. I don't know that I necessarily like subscribe to the like whole conspiracy theory going on, and like I hear people saying like, "Oh, the media's favoring Microsoft. It makes for a better story." I don't know if it's just a lot of people that just happen to have individual bias, and maybe it's leaning towards the Xbox side of things. We do know that Microsoft is far more generous than Sony is as it pertains to giving influencers products. Um, so I'd be remiss to not mention that could be a possible factor um, that is contributing to this bias. Because, for example, if I know, I have some influence, I'm a journalist, and they continuously take care of me, then I might not want to be as critical because I don't want that perk of, doing business with them to be impacted. So I don't subscribe to the conspiracy thing, but I do believe there is a lot of bias that bleeds through because of influence from these companies, and then even though it might not come out in an explicit form of dogging Sony, we might see in more overly inflated scores on one side than the other.
I mean, isn't that basically a conspiracy theory in itself? You know, people have an inherent bias. Isn't that a
But
conspiracy
what
theory?
I'm saying is I don't think it's a whole conspiracy in the sense that there's this industry actively plotting and working against Sony. I just
Oh,
think that
I never said that.
no, I didn't say you did, but I'm just saying like I think there's a lot of implicit bias that's happening because these companies, these journalists are being so heavily taken care of by one side. So I think that's a contributing factor potentially in that, but I don't think it's this big moving part. So yeah, I think Sony's impacted by that. I don't think there's any world where Psychonauts received the the scores that it did. Um, I played Psychonauts. I think the gameplay was like not even mediocre. That would be being generous. I was very intrigued by the mental health aspect of the story and the social commentary and all that. And I don't know how they came out with that number. So, in the end of the day, so yeah, I do think that Sony might be getting picked on a little bit. They have been on top for a long time. So we might be seeing kind of like a change in that respect. But the nice thing is, at the end of the day, while the numbers and the scores don't really maybe reflect what the general consensus that we see in the community is, the best part of all, though, is there is zero degradation in the quality of first party Sony games. In fact, they just get better and better.
Well, I mean, this isn't. I want to be clear to everyone that's listening to this. This is not a circle jerk of a space or podcast. I'm just kind of making observations. What about you, Fatal? Fatal,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
what you got to say about this story?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are just paranoid, dude. But I think maybe.
I mean, for once in your 38 years of living, could you please be objective?
What do you mean? I am being objective.
Just once. Once.
What are you talking about? I'm being objective.
This motherfucker just called your whole life into question just now.
I know, right?
Your
Jesus Christ. For once, man, be fucking honest with yourself, man. Listen, I am being honest, man. Like, I don't pay attention to that shit. I don't care about that shit. Like, if Sony, if journalists are sitting there, and they were on Sony's side fucking during the PS4, and now they're fucking cheerleading for bullshit on Xbox, fuck them.
But this is not about an Xbox thing. I would say this is about. See, this is why I positioned it in such a way.
It's treating unfairly when it comes to Sony. Yes, I do agree.
It's not even about that. Even it's about, like, I guess, human nature of people just not liking something that is successful. And
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And rooting for the underdog, or at least the perceived underdog. It just baffles me repeatedly, over and over, that I see just massive inconsistencies everywhere. This isn't about Elden Ring and Horizon. This is in general for the last, I would say, what was it?
Since the PS5. Since the PS5 dropped.
Since the PS4. So I would say it started to change when Sony started to release a lot of really cool shit in the middle of PS4's life. Like, just a history lesson. People thought that console gaming was dead. That shit was dead. That was the last. The PS3 and Xbox 360 and the Wii, that was it.
You know who started that bullshit fucking rumor, man? Was that Michael Packer motherfucker. Fuck him. Yeah. He was dead wrong on that, and he's been dead wrong ever since. It's like, everything he predicts.
I maybe he's just, I don't know. He's senile. I was thinking that maybe he was doing it for clicks or whatever. But
it's exactly what he's doing. He's doing it for clout. That's exactly what he does.
I don't think so. I just think he just doesn't know what he's talking. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
You ever watch him on the bonus round, dude, man? Like, clearly, yeah. Like, he's just a regular analyst, but his predictions are so fucking far off.
It's so far off. See, that's what I'm saying. It's not like necessarily like console wars. It's everything that he tries to analyze. How can you be an analyst if you can't even analyze the data of which he has? I don't understand it. Like, it's like he sees all the data and it's like, I'm going to choose the opposite. So when the underdog was the underdog was Sony in the early PS4 life. You already had a successful Wii. So Nintendo wasn't really successful when they made a Wii U. People hated Wii U. They were like, oh, they bothered to do anything at all. Look at this shitty ass console, because they were already on top. So everyone dogpiled them. What's going on, Stardust? Everyone all dogpiled Nintendo at that point in time, and it hurt their fucking bottom line. Microsoft was successful, and they started to taper off when they started worrying about Kinect. And then with the fucking DRMs and then the extra push for TV, they became the bad guy. And it only left Sony. So all hope was Sony to save us from this invisible monster of consumerism.
Don't forget the extra $100 price point as well.
Oh yeah, this is true. It was expensive. So people were like, it's a less powerful console, and then it's cost more. They talk about TV shit, and then you had DRM. So everybody was like, and then Sony they added fuel to the fire by saying, "How do you share your games?" And then they just do that shit, and that sparked the console war, and it sparked people to just kind of inflate Sony's. Because I'm going to be honest with you, the early PS4 games, the only one that I saw worth anything was Bloodborne and Gravity Rush. They were the only two. I didn't like Uncharted. And a lot of the PS3 games, they were experimental. You know what I mean? They did a lot of experimental things because they were just throwing shit at a wall and hope something fucking stuck. And so when they kind of moved to the cinematic, experience or whatever the case is, and then they work well with developers and shit like that. But they were doing like Square, Final Fantasy remake and just the dreams come true, man. Type of stuff. And then that, Sony became the darling of the industry. They got their talons in every piece of industry, the fucking media, and people just liked them in general. It made them extremely successful. And they just was hit after hit. Now the games that we have nowadays, right? You got the Spider-Mans, and they just continuing on that type of quality that they had before. You got the Spider-Mans, you got the, in terms of The Last of Us and its quality, you had that shit. Of course, you have Forbidden West that just recently came out. You had Days Gone. You have all this stuff that they kind of zeroed in on what made them successful after basically experimenting with a lot of different things. And then now people see Sony as successful and they have a different expectation. So it's like that annoying fucker in school, in elementary school, that keeps raising his fucking hand, giving teachers gifts, always fucking right, and everybody want to see that kid fail. They want him to answer wrong for once. They want to fuck up because in human nature, they want to see failure, and then they want to see a comeback story. And it's just 2 times in a row that Sony had a comeback story, and people they're not liking it. Like PS1, that was their starting origin story. And then PS2, they kept saying that Sony was cocky and shit like that, but it was irrefutable. So many people bought it. And then PS3 was any fucking excuse to like tear that down. I get it was $600, but everything started to inflate anyway. And it gave you a lot of shit that basically is the comforts that we have nowadays. Wireless, shit, and just things of that nature. So that's how I feel. It's curious going back to the games that you can increase your quality and somehow still have so many issues. It's great. Jemiah's in there. What's going on, Jemiah? Yo, Jemiah, you there? Oh yeah, you there. It's just, what I'm saying? Like, I feel like just people just can't stand looking at anything fucking successful. They don't like it. They don't like it, and they're hoping to see. And it doesn't matter if it's PC, Xbox, Nintendo, or Sega, anybody. Too much success, people are just going to be like, I'm tired of seeing it. It needs to go. What's your take on this shit? Jemiah?
I just think that I think that some of these whose backgrounds are Jesus. I just think that some of these journalists and reviewers are intoxicated with the power they have. You know what I mean? Like they can sway Metacritics or by one simple review. So I think some of these sites are just getting like too full of themselves and they're just giving scores out. You know what I mean? Like so they can influence the industry and whatnot. Like I don't know if it's a certain bias, but I just think that some of these people are intoxicated with their own power. You know what I mean? They love hearing their own voice and shit.
I never thought of that angle. Me personally should have easily thought of this angle before, especially with all my vitriol of SJW shit. You know what I'm saying? And leftists and just shit like that. That irritates me so fucking much. But it does make me think though. You know what I'm saying? You give anyone power and they're going to abuse it. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it be Sony and their censorship or Nintendo and their IPs or Microsoft and their money and what they can do with the industry and push it along. I never really thought of that angle. But maybe to me it's that, and but what, that's journalists. What about the average people though? That's the question. You know what I mean? Why does it seem like the average, like, I have to bring up Horizon. It is what it is. It's always on my fucking, on my pages and timelines and shit like that. But I'm just trying to ignore shit. So I moseyed on Twitter looking for a fucking, and I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but they had a patch for Forbidden West, right? And I went to see what the patch notes was, and just rows of Elden Ring is better. Elden Ring is better. They need to take this, and this game sucks. Oh, Aloy is fat, and I'm like, what? Like, Jemiah, what's going on with that?
This is just fanboys trying to cap for their favorite system. You know what I mean? And then
are you sure it's the system though? Are you sure it's the system, or is it the IP?
What do you mean?
There's people that they don't necessarily have an allegiance. They do like an IP. I was one of those kids. And I'll ask cheat code after you. I was one of those kids when I was younger that was all things Tomb Raider. So to me, Tomb Raider encompassed every fucking genre. To me, my personal, I couldn't stand RPGs. I couldn't stand racing because she could race on a quad. I was like, well, there's racing in there too. You know what I mean? She could climb, she could swim. And when they said something about Final Fantasy 7 and 8, I was like, that game fucking sucks. That shit is overrated. So you can't have an IP. I was young back then. I was like fucking 13. So shut the fuck up. You can't have an IP though that you want to cap for. So that's what I mean.
There is not that many Souls fans. I don't know where all these Souls fans came from because
what's going on, man?
Because the numbers don't really show that these Souls fans actually exist. You know what I mean?
I'm looking online and I've been screenshotting every time I see someone give up. I think the next person is probably going to be Enter Chico. But I've been seeing that people, I've been screenshotting every time someone gives up on Elden Ring. I can't do this. What's wrong with this? And I don't know who said it, but if they ever run across this space and Twitter account, that dude hit the fucking nail on the head, man. All these journalists that complain about, I don't want my handheld. This is just so good. And then go onto a fucking Wikipedia and they go onto fucking YouTube and you basically having your handheld in a roundabout way. You just basically went all around town and then came back to have the same thing. Go on, Jemiah. And then Chico and see what he thinks. And then Fatal.
Like, I was looking up the Dark Souls, like the Souls franchise. I think it sold like 27 million the Souls games and shit. You know what I mean? Not including like Bloodborne and shit like that. And Horizon sold 20 million by itself. You know what I mean?
But don't forget they sold Horizon sold for $10 next year. That's what you're gonna hear.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but like Dark Souls sold 27 million the Souls games combined to the year to date, right? And one game, Horizon did 20 million, so like 7 million less. And I think at the end of the day, the entire Dark Souls franchise versus just Horizon, it'll be really close. You know what I mean? It's just two games versus like 5 or so games on multiple platforms. So I don't really see how there could be that many people who are like in the Souls games and so fucking like you know obsessed with the game, and the game doesn't really get beat that much either. So like I said, a lot of people quit playing the game, but yet they'll keep buying the game every iteration, which doesn't make sense to me.
Energy Code, what you gotta say about all this? My monologue.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Maul's point or Jemiah's point. Yeah, the sales there's a canyon in difference between the sales. But one thing to keep in mind with that portion of the conversation is, the From Software games are appealing to a very specific audience, hardcore gamers, while the Horizon is very consumer-centric, it's very mass appeal. So I think that's worth taking into account, but it also seems as if, Elden Ring is the highest-selling game in 2022, beating out Horizon, despite Horizon having, that commercial appeal and it being, a sequel, so it's coming from an existing strong franchise as well. but to the point you were making, Gamecast, I think it really is interesting because I didn't really consider this, because Breath of the Wild offered the same level of, exploration and kind of approachability and freedom that I've seen so far in my limited experience with Elden Ring, which is probably like, I don't know, 4 hours, 5 hours right now because I started it today. And you made a point that kind of I didn't consider, and that's the fact that the game is celebrated for the fact that you don't need your handheld, as was Zelda. But Zelda was far more approachable than Elden Ring is, and you're right. Elden Ring, whether people are looking it up or not, I think that Elden Ring has built a community that Breath of the Wild didn't. But people are kind of getting their hands held in a roundabout way because they are referring to walkthroughs. But one of my biggest chief complaints with Horizon, though, is it's littered. It's overwhelming. There is shit everywhere on that damn map. I'll be in a small area. I've been in this area for 5 hours already, and there's still 6 question marks and 2 exclamation points and two main missions and this and that. And it does get overwhelming. And I think Horizon Forbidden West kind of took it to an extreme. And I think for some people, they find it refreshing, especially with the open world genre, because for me, I think that Horizon Forbidden West really exemplifies the worst tropes of the open world genre on steroids. Horizon basically does everything that I hate about open worlds, but takes it to a complete extreme end of the spectrum, while Elden Ring, as you mentioned earlier, gives you nothing. So the games are on like completely different ends of the spectrum. But Elden Ring is going to get dropped by the majority of people. Let's be honest, most games are dropped by the majority of people. Like you look at Spider-Man, God of War 2018, and Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2. Those games have between 20 and 33% completion rates, which is completely unheard of. And then I just finished Gears Hive Buster recently, so I'll refer to that game. That game, or DLC, has a less than 4% completion rate, with a barrier of entry that's almost non-existent because it came in at $15 a pop, included with your Game Pass subscription. Elden Ring's going to get dropped by the majority of the people. There's the hype around it. There's the buzz. Everyone wants to be a part of the conversation. It's sitting at a 97 at Metacritic. That's kind of unheard of. And, there's a lot of conversation that this is top 10 greatest games of all time, and some people even have it in their top 5. I don't know if they're prisoners of the moment right now, but it's hard. I'm hard pressed to find, people that aren't loving this game. I wasn't even going to purchase the game, in fact, just because I just wasn't with it right now, and then I started to find myself not enjoying my time with Horizon. And then your boy Roshi gifted me Elden Ring. He was the same person that kind of bullied me into playing Sekiro. He's like, dude, stop being a bitch and play Sekiro. And it ended up being my 2019 Game of the Year. And he kind of did the same thing with this one, but I kind of was like, nah, I'm not buying it. And he's like, bro, here's a code. You're playing Elden Ring. So I'm like, all right.
Can I push back on this?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Horizon thing too, but if you could, Jemiah, I see you. Just hold out for the other half of the show, but everything else.
Horizon.
No, I know. Just making sure.
No, I'm talking about there's somebody made some stupid ass list of top 10 open world games and shit like that. Like they didn't put Morrowind on there, which is one of the greatest open world games of all time. You literally get dropped off on a boat and they tell you just to go. They don't give you any direction. There is no map. There's no compasses. There's no anything. You got to do everything in game through notes. They give you literal directions, like go here to this waterfall or some shit. That's one of the greatest open world games of all times. It didn't make the list of this top 10 shit. You know what I mean? They put GTA 5 up there and games like Red Dead and shit. You have games like Far Cry 6 came out. Nobody complained about the map. GTA 5, nobody ever complains about the icons on the map.
That map looked crazy too, by the
games
way.
Horizon Zero Dawn, nobody complained about all the shit on the map. You have all these games that have all this shit on the map, and nobody cared to even complain about it. The moment Elden Ring came out with nothing on the map, all of a sudden it became a problem. That's my problem with gamers. You dudes always go by the like I said at the moment. Oh, Elden Ring is fresh and new. Elden Ring is not fresh and new. There have been tons of games that didn't have any maps, icons, or anything. But what happened? Players complained that they couldn't find shit. The bitch didn't complain until devs started putting more and more icons and compasses and fucking trails and all kind of shit in the game because people complained about it. And all of a sudden, the Elden Ring doesn't do that, and it's the greatest thing ever. That to me is
it does
bullshit.
though. It does in a roundabout way. Fatal, I want to ask you a question. I'm gonna get
yes,
back
sir.
to you.
Yes, sir.
So with all the stuff that you may have heard, I'm not sure because you were quiet for a while. The original topic is basically about when you overachieve, it seems to hinder you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like because of the high production value, I've been seeing this narrative online too. The narrative of I'm tired of AAA games and high production values, and all of a sudden, just like what Jemiah said, all of a sudden it's a problem when you have a game that has one of the highest production of most of any game that I've seen in terms of RPG in this particular case, a Western RPG, against a game that looks like a fucking AA game. Now, I wanted to touch on something that no, Fatal. Let me hear what you got to say about this. Being an overachiever leads to fucking a hard road.
Leads to being fucking, man, who fucking cares, dog? Shit. Both games are good. Both games are great, man.
See, the conversation
going neutral. I'll play, dog. I'll play, but I'll play.
No, I think that was a real response. I think that you truthfully don't care because I don't necessarily see you in the console fuckery anyway. Unless it's Xbox.
Listen, Forbidden West, man, was amazing in its own right. And yes, I'm going back and platinum that bitch, man, because I had a lot of fun. Because as soon as that shit opened up, bro, that game is mint, bro. Straight up.
I'm gonna tell you this, right? So you know why I wasn't that impressed with Elden Ring, and I just, as Jemiah was talking, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. There was a game I used to play back in 2014 and 15. I played it for like a year. That's all I ever played because remember, in the beginning of the PS4's life cycle, I didn't really like the games that Sony had. They were very watered down, including Horizon. I mean, it was good to look at and it was cool to marvel at the technology and I liked the story, but it was so paper thin in terms of anything else gameplay wise. You know what I mean? So when they started adding the shit that they added in Horizon Forbidden West, it's like it's up there. I'll put it that way. But going back to what I was saying, there was a game that was called 7 Days to Die. They gave you a very
love that game.
Love it. Chef kiss. They give you they have a next generation. They have a game. They have a PS5 update, an Xbox and computer update. That's coming out within the next year or two. That's going to be like next gen with all the other flourishes and stuff like that. So, they didn't give you a map in that game. No map. I mean, no map that you put things in. You know what I mean? You just discovered it and you were able to look with your own eyes, and it made sense. When I stumbled upon the city, I was like, in every room in that building was explorable. Shit, you could just basically destroy the fucking the building, the high rise, if you wanted to.
Hey, Josh, I'll be back, buddy.
Yeah. So you could destroy the high rise if you wanted to. It was really fucking cool. But they didn't give you a map.
Not to also mention, if you go to Horizon, if you turn your map on, you hit the options buttons, it lets you turn off all the icons. It lets you turn off any icons you want. So I don't understand this nonsense. You know what I mean? You have options in games to turn icons off on any map in most games, modern games. So why are we even discussing map icons and clutter and shit when that's just not necessary? So if you want to turn it off and stop complaining about it.
Well, because it's design based. It's based off design. I gotta finish my thing. I did give you a pretty big platform to say what you were saying. Now I wanted to say a couple of things. They didn't give you a map. really that had any kind of icons. You actually had to make your own icons in 7 Days to Die. So when I hear criticism about Forbidden West and having all these maps and it's overwhelming, one of the things that I do understand when people play Forbidden West is that they don't know how to play the game. As much as they told you how to play it, people still ignore everything. Maybe they're skipping everything because they you get swept up in the fucking hype and you just okay. Well, everyone's saying it's good. Let me go ahead and buy it, and then you realize that there's a lot of investment in this game. And I mean, just because you have an icon or a question mark which you can remove on a map, and they give you an option too. They say that you would have the Explorer version or this version. So it's funny. I wonder if they're going to have a tweak that just remove most of the fucking icons so people shut the fuck up finally about that shit. I guarantee you that when you play the game, I don't know where to go. There are rumors in the game where you have somebody that says, "Hey, Aloy, come over here. I heard this." They give you verbally a general direction as to where to go when you are exploring. They'll say in the south, I heard that this is happening. You know what I mean? In this area where it's the ocean, whatever the case is. So you really don't need any of the icons to be. You could turn them all off. You truthfully could turn them all off. You already have smoke for the campfire, so you can see that shit from a distance. You know, so it's funny when people buy into what the media tells them. That's what this is. The media says that Elden Ring is the best game since sliced bread, and so people follow right off a cliff. The game has poor performance. You do have a lot of map clutter on there. Every time you go to a grace, it will stamp that shit on there. Every time you discover an area, it will stamp that on there. I don't, and you can't, and you. I don't think you can remove it either. What are you gonna say, Cheat?
I was just gonna say I don't think the claim.
You're breaking up, man. You're breaking up.
Okay, just give me a moment.
I'm going to continue to talk, and then you just jumped in. You just told me just jump in. So it's just funny when I hear the stuff that, and I don't want to rag on shit. I even talk about Breath of the Wild. To me, you have the open world, you have the chemical system, which you could, mix the physics together. Whether it be fire propagation and wind, or ice, or just the force of gravity or magic or whatever. You can mix all that shit up together and create your own little, your own little gameplay. The problem here is that it has some of the worst AI in gaming. Horrible path finding.
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you now. Go on, please.
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't think the claim is that it's never been done before, right?
Because no. Before you even go on, that is the claim. People say I've never played a game like this before. I'll give you the receipts.
But here's the thing. We know, as you mentioned as was mentioned with Morrowind and the 7 Days game you referenced, you can even go to the little indie game Firewatch. You can even go back to the PS2 era with a game like Shadows of the Colossus. The thing that is different though is that it's not that it hasn't been done. It's that the general consensus is that Breath of the Wild did it better than had ever been done before and has set a new standard. In addition to, I'll also reference, say, Ghost of Tsushima, which was another game that was also very well received. And yeah, it had some things on the map, but they mostly had that little wind system to guide you. So when you look at 2017's Breath of the Wild and 2020's Ghost of Tsushima, you saw a new trend in how people wanted to have more freedom of exploration and less hand holding. So I like, once again, it's not that it's never been done, but it's what it seems to be what gamers want now. And that really kicked off in 2017 with Breath of the Wild, 2020 with another minimal map with Ghost of Tsushima, not in the vein, not to the extent of Breath of the Wild. And here we are celebrating, Elden Ring being celebrated as well.
This shit is
now you're breaking up serious, something fierce right now, man. You're low and you're breaking up.
But the thing is with Ghost of Tsushima, though,
but I get what you're saying.
Ghost has everything on the map also. It has every single place on the map in Ghost of Tsushima, and they're all question marks before you get there. So I don't understand why people didn't say shit about that game. because I beat Ghost of Tsushima 100%.
Because they didn't have anything on the screen, like they didn't have anything in the environment, like a wave point or a beam of light or whatever the case is.
Then turn that shit off. Then, like,
I know that's the thing. See, the thing is, people want their hand to be held, low key, high key, but low key. Even turning off the icons, they still want you to do it. You know what I'm saying? Despite the fact that they give you an option, and how many people, they scream from the hilltops, option, I want options. You really don't, though. And in terms of you do it better than anybody else, who says? I don't want every game to be like Zelda. I don't want many games to be like Zelda, period. Zelda has its own flourishes in terms of how they have the gameplay. You can stick on every wall, but here's the thing: like, it's not like you have many interesting towns to go to where you can utilize those features. A lot of the physics and stuff like that you have in a game does not impact the gameplay that the developer wants you to experience. You're basically creating your own fucking game. They give you a directive, and that is to kill Ganon. And you can go over there if you know what you're doing and kill Ganon and be done with the game. Or you could do exploring. And really, it's nothing but hills or deserts, hills of grass or hills of fucking desert. They don't have to render that much. They don't. You have very small few towns. The production values, of course, is going to be lower, but it is low. You know what I'm saying? So fine. I don't want every game to be like Zelda. I don't want everything to be like Horizon. I don't want everything to be like, I don't, there's no standard to this shit because that game is, the way that the game design is specific for that game. And you can't flop them out. Like there's the wind mechanic that's in Ghost of Tsushima. You can't do that really. You can't do that in Horizon. It wouldn't make sense. Nor can you stick on every fucking wall. That doesn't make sense. I'm not ragging on the thing, but here's the thing. This is what I mean by you have these journalists that basically corrals people into thinking something and people jump off the fucking cliff. Not every game needs to be like that. I don't understand. And which we're going to talk about, because my game of the year, and it's probably going to stay my game of the year unless a Killzone comes out this year, is going to be Horizon Forbidden West. And I feel like a lot of people, including myself, I beat the game as fast as I could humanly beat the game, just so I don't get spoiled. When I came back to the game, I found a new layers of gameplay and how that game conducted itself. I found that the rumors that you go to, there's people in towns that they tell you about areas without you having to look at the map in that regard, because you really don't have to do it. They'll tell you necessarily where, like in the general direction. There's also a situation where every town that's in the game has DLC level of side quests and their own story and their own trials and tribulations and their own weapons and their own clothes and ideology. And they give you a whole bunch of dialogue to explain it if you want to. See, the problem here is when it comes to the dialogue, there's too much dialogue. I don't feel like reading all of it. Then don't, nigga. Skip the shit. They give you the main diamond to let you know what are the objectives. If you want to dig into it, then you can talk. You could go around the fucking wheel 3 times to get the information if you a fan or inclined to do it. And it's funny because if Guerrilla Games decided not to do that shit and be as esoteric as a Souls game, then people are going to say the game doesn't have story. The same thing, I'll say this last thing, I want to hear Jemiah on this shit. When you play a Souls game, there aren't that many cutscenes, right? In order for you to figure out the story, you have to pick up every item that you possibly can pick up and read the descriptions. Does that sound familiar to you? Because it should, because that sounds a lot like the data points in Horizon Zero Dawn. All you gotta do is look at the data points, and that's how the story is. Most of the, I would say about a third of the story is in those data points. But here's the thing: if Sony doesn't do it, they're going to get crucified for not having a good story. If From Software does it, no one gives a fuck. I guarantee you nobody knows what the fucking story is of any of the Souls games but Bloodborne. That's pretty much the only thing, and even that's iffy. But Sony has to do all of that at once, and it makes them look like a tryhard. Jemiah, what you got to say about this shit?
About what necessarily?
Basically, what I was saying about just for starters, the unfair treatment essentially of anything that's popular. People want to talk about Horizon. Like if Horizon decided to not have dialogue wheels or whatever the case is, which is completely optional, then people say that there's no story. Then when they add the fucking story to each town and its DLC level of side quest, then it's too much. You know what I'm saying? If it's too much if the graphics are too good, then Aloy's braid clipped through her fucking bow, the bowstring, and then I can't play the game. You know what I mean? People talk about the performance of Horizon. Oh, it's grainy. The grass is grainy, but you can look at that shit that you call Elden Ring because of a fucking colorful tree in the background. And people say it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. I've never seen the foolishness in my life. I want to see you cheat code.
I feel like
let me just say this one thing, and I'll let you go. I want to see cheat code at least 40% you completing that game. That's what I want to see. Since it's like Breath of the Wild, and it's like it's too much to play Horizons Forbidden West, and you don't want to have your hand held. I want you to post 40% of you complete, like 40% of Elden Ring being completed. I'll give you 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Let's see how that pans out. See if you drop it or not. Go on, Jemiah.
Also, the fact that people say that Elden Ring is the best-selling game, that's only because we've seen NPDs and we haven't seen the worldwide sales. So I don't know how people can say just based on North America it's the best-selling game. You know what I mean? I'm gonna push back on that, and I would guarantee that at the end of the day, Horizon is gonna sell more than Elden Ring. Period. But as far as it's like the Patriots, right? Like people hated the Patriots because Tom Brady kept winning. You know what I mean? Like people hate Tom Brady just because he was winning all these games. Like I feel like Sony's the same way. Like I said, a lot of these reviewers and people and even players and gamers took it upon themselves to try to take Sony down a peg, basically. You know what I mean? And the amount of just what do you say, the amount of capping for just Elden Ring is out of control because the majority of people will never beat this game. You know what I mean? For Souls fans, like people like Luca and shit like that, I believe everything she says about these games. You know what I mean? Because she really loves these games and plays these games. But for people who never played the Souls games and all of a sudden they're acting like Elden Ring is the best game they ever played, like I call bullshit on that. You know what I mean? And people are if Elden Ring came out before Horizon, would it be the same reaction? If Elden Ring didn't get delayed and the game came out looking the way it does and all this shit, and then Horizon came out a couple weeks later looking the way it does, would it be the same reaction? You know what I mean? Since Horizon came out first, people were allowed to talk shit and put out these bogus review scores. And then when Elden Ring came out, all of a sudden every reviewer gave it a 10 out of 10. And I know they didn't beat the game within that 1 week or 2 week period that they had the review codes, right? You told me every reviewer beat the game.
They said they didn't.
So how do you review games if you don't beat them? This comes back to the whole gist of the point is people are using their opinions and their feelings to give games scores, which doesn't equate to actual what reviews are supposed to be. You're supposed to be objective. You have reviewers saying that they want to bring Sony down a peg. Little reviewers saying that they were trying to bring Sony down or they wanted to make it even with Xbox. You have other reviewers saying, I'm just biased for Souls games, so I'm just going to give it a good score. These are literal people saying this out loud in text. You can go look it up. So you can't say that people are making this shit up because it's right in your face. And then gamers who have their own agendas, who maybe don't like Sony, or maybe just don't like Horizon. Horizon always had this extra level of scrutiny for no reason, even though Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the most cleanest games you can ever play. Horizon Forbidden West does have a lot of glitches, like more than Horizon Zero Dawn. It has a lot of little glitches here and there, but it's not unplayable. You know what I mean? And for you to knock down points and shit, but not do it on Elden Ring, I think that's a little atrocious and biased.
Are you still there? You cut out. Jemiah.
For me, yeah, I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
say I
yeah.
just think it's bias. I think there's a lot of bias in the industry and within gamers, within platforms, within genres. Like nobody's gonna sit here and tell me that Elden Ring's gonna get some 50% completion rate because it's not. You know what I mean? Like
No,
I'll doubt if it even
a
gets over
lot of
fucking
it.
20.
A lot of it is inflated by the Souls fans that this is calling their bias. They think that the Souls games is one of the best games of all time, and then you see most of them on Twitch or YouTube streaming the games and stuff like that. And I can have my fun, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes when it comes to this, me playing Elden Ring and how I feel about it, and why Horizon is was my favorite game of the year, because I'm pretty sure I am biased, but I'm not blind to the issues that is Horizon that has a Horizon, and it's not even talking about glitches. I'm just talking about just intrinsic gameplay that they have in there. Let's be clear that this isn't about Sony necessarily. This is about just success. You know what I mean? Of course, I have to use the clickbaity thing to say Sony had teachers, but I have to use that to kind of set the stage for what we're talking about. But it seems like if anything's successful, they don't like it. When if it's on top for too long. Now, in terms of Horizon, Guerrilla Games is shrouded in fanboy wars. Period. It started when they said that Guerrilla Games was going to make a Halo killer, which is Killzone. You know what I mean? So people kind of remember that shit. People always said that because the media didn't like it back then. There was space Nazis, even though there was almost non-existent with other first-person shooters in terms of their story. I mean, you had Halo, which is pretty comprehensive, pretty decent story. But the Call of Duties at that point in time started to completely really fall apart when it came to the story after Modern Warfare, after the first Modern Warfare. It started to get really fantastical. Yeah.
Can I jump in and say one thing real quick?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we could hear you.
Yeah, I'm listening, but I just wanted to throw out an interesting statistic for your reference here. Right now on Twitch, Elden Ring is being viewed by 302,000 people. Or sorry, 308.7 viewers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and Horizon is being viewed by
probably 3,000. Yeah, either 3,000 or 2,000. Yeah, I'm aware of this, Chief. But here's the thing, right? You got to understand. Are you out in the fucking street?
Somebody just drove a car real fast by. But
I was
just trying to say that that right there is an indication though in the level of interest that people have. I don't think that it's just these review scores manipulating the situation.
You're breaking up. I have to piece together what you're saying, but I get what you're saying. So you
all
tell
that
me.
tells me is people don't want to play Elden Ring. Hold
on, Jemiah. This is what this is. It's not indicative. First and foremost, Elden Ring is a co-op game, so it will have that type of legs on Twitch. Number two, Twitch is a place of looking at people rage quit and be angry, and the way that the Souls games work, it is like that. Then you have the media that hype this game up to be the best thing ever, and you got a whole bunch of people watching your shit. In general, I have always been aware of the numbers of getting to these debates. I've spoken to people that are hardcore Souls fans, right? Majority of them will say that I don't like wandering around aimlessly. It does not respect my time. I get that it's about an adventure game, but you build this pedigree of Souls gameplay and you change it to the point where I can't learn anything because there's so much shit in my way, and I just want to fucking learn, get the weapons, level up my character and shit like that, and that's fine. I watch the streams and you will see what type of what you have there. People are trying to break the game in terms of making builds, and people are experimenting with the builds. That don't mean anything. This is why people say that Sony's games are one and done, because the storyline is no one plays fucking Souls games for the story, but people play Sony games for the story. So once you get the story, You could go back for the gameplay, that's sure, but it's a story situation. That means nothing. Because if that's the case, then PUBG and Dota and all the other things it was smash the shit out of that game, and it's about value. It will never have those kind of legs. It's just people got swept up in the hype. Is what it boils down to. And again, like I said before, including Elden Ring, people don't like popular things. And now Elden Ring is getting to the point where it's gotten so popular, you're going to get these offshoots of people that are like, I'm tired of hearing about this fucking game. That's what you're going to get. And people are going to be like, I don't like it. But from what I hear, the Souls people, for the most part, they don't like the direction it's going. And they don't believe that it's fucking the game of the year or any kind of amazing thing. This is taking away the fanboyism altogether. They don't like the game. The game has poor performance, and the performance actually affects your combat in the game. I mean, I've seen some crazy shit on a PC. It don't matter what kind of PC you got. That's why I mentioned on Skill Up. I'm like, yo, you said that you don't have any fucking issues, but everybody else does. What's up with that? You know what I'm saying? Ain't it about that? But anyway, we're going to move on to the next subject so we can wrap this shit up. Which is your personal game of the year? Since you were having the most issues connectivity wise and or cheat, what is your game of the year so far? Oh, he just oh shit.
Yeah, I was having some performance issues. Can you hear me better?
No, it's still. Are you like what are you on data? What is this?
This fucking data is fucking sponsored by From Software and shit.
Stop it. I don't know. Like you sound okay, and then all of a sudden the quality of your voice dropped significantly, and then you just start having breakup. It's like you switch to some sort of Bluetooth or something, and that's a wrap. What about you, Jemiah? Because I can't hear you.
I can't. I'm not gonna say yet because I don't. It's only fucking March. You know what I mean? And I haven't seen all the games.
But
you know what I mean?
Let's say that a year is only 4 months, right? What will you be a game of the year so far?
I mean, for me, it would have to be Horizon. It's the most impressive game on every metric. If you want to like, because like in the beginning of the gen, right? People were saying, this game is a next gen or this is next gen, and that's not. And being the next gen game and having next gen features was the huge thing when the generation first started, right? Horizon has shown you everything next gen. The underwater is crazy. The fucking flying, the graphics, the mechanics, the quest systems, the fucking new mechanics in the game, the climbing, everything. Everything somebody had a problem with Horizon Zero Dawn, they literally upgraded it for this next game. And to me, this is the most next gen game I played so far, regardless of platform or anything. So I would have to give it to Horizon right now.
Since I've played both, I will definitely speak upon both. Did I finish Elden Ring? No. Is it going to be fair? No. Do I give a fuck? Not really. Because I'm not getting paid to review the game. But from what I played, I am just not interested in the game. I can tell you that much. And my point of not being interested in the game is I'm not mad at what they have on there. I've already played games that were very similar in terms of you finding your own way and discovery and adventure without it pissing me the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Without enemies dropping on my fucking head when I'm trying to upgrade my fucking character. Without a boss just manifesting as I'm just walking. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so if you like that type of gameplay where it's random shit happens in a particular area, then great. I'm not a fan of the technical issues. I'm definitely not a fan of the technical prowess of that game. I don't feel like I bought a $500 console or I bought a brand new next generation console for it to look that way. Like it to me, it's a very poor showing. And for all the talk that you said too, Jemiah, for all the talk that people, for all the shit that they gave Sony for being next gen and that they can't tell the difference, it seems to not really matter when it comes to Elden Ring. because apparently the game is so fun that you can overlook its graphics. But you haven't played Horizon, and you can't overlook, Aloy's foot clipping in the sand, or I guess, that was a thing in the past. My game of the year is definitely going to have to be Horizon, and because it just, I'm going to say this: unless God of War really ups the ante on gameplay, like the shit that I saw for God of War, right? Um, wasn't I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't. I wasn't impressed because I don't like to continue how they are continuing the story. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it lost its magic in that particular regard. I don't know. I haven't played it. But from what I did see, I don't like the amount of information that they gave within the trailer. Like showing the black chick in the game, which she was supposed to be hidden. I think she's I can't remember the lore, but I think she was supposed to be the mom of the big ass serpent in the lake. And then she's young or whatever the case is. So that's a question. You weren't supposed to know that Tyr was alive, but then here he is. The gameplay looks almost extremely, or it looks very similar to the first God of War. And if that shit is the same type of hub environment like the other one, I'm definitely not going to be impressed. Because the best thing about God of War, not Horizon, I'm sorry, the first God of War, the best thing that was in the first God of War was the story. To me, the gameplay was just like, it's okay. I mean, it's better. I mean, it's different. I give it props on that one. But I thought the camera was too close. I thought that too much spongy ass enemies, and you couldn't do whatever you want with it, or whatever the case is. So unless they have a complete revamp of that game and a story is in the story to match, I'm not going to be impressed with it. Um, for Spoken, I can guarantee you that's not going to be, just listening to the music that's in the trailers. It just seems like a hipster game to me. That's what it feels like. Now they can prove me wrong all day and all night. I'll be okay, but it just feels like a hipster game to me. It's just very hipster, and you checking boxes on, does the character look cool? Does she have these name brand clothes on? Does she have? I just, to me, I think this is going to be another kind of floppish type game. We'll see. And then last but not least, um, Gran Turismo came out, and as you know, racing games usually don't contend for Game of the Year. I am, for the most part, impressed with about 75% of the content that's in there. I feel like they could have really went off graphically, and they just couldn't because it's being held back with the PS4. That's what I feel like. So that being said, Jemiah, what do you think this year? What, like, this year? Let's say that the year is fast forward to the end. What do you think are the contenders that will most likely be like really big hitters, giant hitters?
I think it's gonna be Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, God of War, and Forspoken, and probably some indie game that comes out. That's just like a dark horse type of game. Those are my game of the years this year.
Okay.
I don't think Horizon has a chance of becoming game of the year, even though the game says otherwise.
Yeah. And that's how I feel about it myself. I personally feel like it's a shame. What do you think is wrong with Horizon? Why it won't contend? Like, why do you feel like, not your personal thing, but why do you feel like people can't connect with Horizon?
I have no clue. I couldn't put my finger on it. You know what I mean? First game, people said Aloy had no personality. Second game, she talks too fucking much. Like I don't understand everything. Everything they fix, people still have a problem with the game. So I couldn't really tell you the reason behind it. I just don't know.
If I had to take a guess or a stab at what's happening with this game, is that we already had the whole bow and arrow thing. I think that's pretty cool. But in terms of the character, Aloy, I feel like she does not have enough drama in her life in flaws personality wise for people to really care. You know what I mean? When I look at a game of beloved characters such as The Last of Us, there were a lot of drama around Drake, around Ellie and Joel. Just look at the top tier, the top people love. I don't understand what was so big about Master Chief. Or maybe he was a product of his time because he never said anything. So when you look at the games that Sony has, Kratos or whatever the case is, he has little quips, he has little emotional things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like Sekiro doesn't. The guy in Sekiro doesn't have any real personality. Link doesn't even really say shit ever. So like,
he does.
All
He says, "Yeah."
So like, it's just like none of this shit makes sense, right? Because like you can point out Game of the Year to have characters that don't even say shit. So I don't understand. I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not. I don't really care what wins Game of the Year, but all I know is people's criticisms and metrics that they use the great games or whatever. It's off. You know what I mean? Certain games just get passes. Like it's just what it is. Like it's an unspoken bias about Nintendo games and these From Software games, and even I think Rockstar to a certain degree has, and not even Naughty Dog has that coat of armor that people just let anything fucking fly just to save face. It is I don't know. I can't explain it.
I'm gonna have to call you out on that one. When it comes to Zelda, he may not speak, but he has a lot of personality. Like he gets cold and he animates a certain way. Um, it's those little things, his gestures, which is the personality. It's very innocent. I think that's what. No, I'm being serious. I'm being serious.
I'm being serious. Like
I feel like that's what
this
people.
motherfucking shivers when he gets cold. That's not fucking personality, bro.
But okay. So if a character was deaf, how would you? You know what I'm saying? If a character was deaf, how would you say? How could they have character? What about that deaf girl that was in Spider-Man? She had character.
Yeah, because she spoke and she was nice and she was cute.
She didn't speak. She couldn't speak. She was deaf.
Well, she spoke through sign language, you dick face, and her facial expressions and shit like that.
Well, Zelda has facial expressions. So does he.
He's there by himself, running around, laughing with himself. What the fuck is this psychotic? Like what the fuck?
That is disingenuous because he speaks to the town people. Stop
Does
it.
He?
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, Link doesn't have let's not act like Link has a personality, bro. Let's not even do that. Come on. This nigga's a goddamn robot.
No, that's how people are collecting his personality. What other games are people talking about personality? Do you? Because I can't remember any off the top of my head. Do you have any?
No, because that shit never really mattered until fucking Horizon came out. That's what I'm saying.
Aloy's personality is not likable because of what she's saying. I gotta help everybody. Oh, I have to. I must. And people are just like, oh, this bitch. Look at this. She thinks she's hot shit.
Well, people don't have a problem with Superman being a fucking uber nice guy who's always trying to help people. Like my thing is like I said, none of this shit can hold up in court. So I can't explain to you, but in court, none of this shit will hold up. None of these arguments hold up about the hate that Horizon gets. It doesn't hold up, bro. Like, and I hate to try to make this about Horizon all the time, and people probably think that we're being like biased or we're mad about some shit. But it's like, you guys go from before Horizon came out, like you said, just complaining about hair clipping and shit. And then you look at Elden Ring and games like any other game that came out ever since Horizon been out, they don't look as good. The effort is not there, but yet they'll give Horizon an 87 though. Like I don't get it.
I mean, the 87 is because of the last few fucking reviewers that did what they did. You know what I'm saying? They gave it such a poor score that it dragged the whole game down. So, I mean, fine. It should have been on Metacritic. Truthfully, it should have been. That should have been held under like extreme scrutiny. But like, somebody was saying that like the personality, like, you know what I mean? Like the robot dinosaurs didn't have any person, you know what I mean? It's apparently, that's what I want to talk about is Ubisoft games. I had I don't think I've really got into it. And this is probably not going to be a longer podcast, but I do want to say this. because you can't really stretch out your game of the year. We're in March basically, but is this something curious to talk about? Right? Someone said that the game is basically a Ubisoft game, and the way that they positioned it, right, was it's a Ubisoft game because of how the question marks and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's so that's what it was. So that's what they claim. All right, cool. Um, what else makes it a Ubisoft game? I guess because she can run and slide and she can climb certain things. Like how do you feel about Horizon being compared to Ubisoft? And I know you played the Assassin's Creed, Jemiah.
I think Assassin's Creed was the game of the year when it came out. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I thought it was the game of the year when it came out. Like I like Valhalla too, but it had like a PC that shit had so many problems. That shit was like unplayable. But for people to use that Ubisoft game to slander Horizon, I mean, great. I guess Ubisoft games still sell a lot. I mean, people talk shit about Ubisoft games, but people keep buying them. You know what I mean? At heavy clips and shit. You feel me? So I don't understand why people always try to diminish one game to bring one game up. I mean, I get it as a psychological thing, but like people want to be like, this is a Ubisoft game, so they can automatically dismiss it. You know what I mean? So they don't have to like look at the shortcomings of the game that they're trying to compare it against. You feel me? So
Right.
people say this is a Ubisoft game to dismiss the argument, so they can just move on because they don't want to have to critique the game that they're talking about. Because if you look at that shit, like if the map is the only thing that makes it a Ubisoft game, then take off the icons of the map. You know what I mean? Like if Aloy's too fucking talk too much, you can go in the game and turn that shit off. Like there's everything you have to complain about. You can literally go to the options and switch it off or on. So there, like I said, makes no sense. Besides people trying to just dismiss the game, so they don't have to actually fucking um compare it to the game they're talking about. Like it's just there's no reason behind the biases against this game.
I just think it does things a little bit too well. But like in terms of, I'm looking at Assassin's Creed now, right, and specifically Valhalla, right. On the surface end of things, right, you ride the horse. It's an open world. You got combat, right. You got range combat or whatever the case is. Day and night cycle. It's a large game, but then that's basically you could basically say the same thing and say that Killzone is exactly the same as fucking Halo. You know what I mean? Or what's another? Or Overwatch is exactly the same as Call of Duty because they have guns. You know what I'm saying? Or yeah, you know what? I'll look at it like this, right? Fucking PUBG is exactly the same as fucking Fortnite, and this is where shit collapses. You know what I'm saying? You guys sell mechanics because you're in the same genre. Like, are you expecting it to be completely different? So that's always a question. It's always a question. You know what I mean? And it's very frustrating when you see this shit. Who did this? Let me see here. Somebody requested Silky. Let's get Silky. Let's get Silky. What's going on, Silky?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You've been in there for a while, just listening, I guess.
Yeah, no, man, I'm working, man. I was doing some shit in the lab. I just got out.
Oh, snap.
What's up?
What you got? I said, oh, snap. I said, what you got to say about all this?
For me, it's all subjective, man. Like, Horizon Forbidden West looks beautiful, but if it's not your type of game, it's not. Like, same with Elden Ring. If it's not your type of game, it's not. I think everyone just feels strongly right now. We just have two of the biggest fan bases that feel strongly about it. Like, we all know Soul fans are dedicated to Souls games, and it's the same way with like PlayStation exclusive fans. Like, they're used to that DNA of games, and they're gonna they defend it because when they play it, they thoroughly enjoy it. I'm not saying they're capping; they actually enjoy it. It's what they like. So I think you just have both those fan bases, and right now, for some reason, Elden Ring got almost basically a perfect score, which is unheard of. So you have people on the side that likes PlayStation first party, and they're looking at the game like, hey, our game looks better and runs better than that. Why did our game get 10 points lower? So I think that's what it is, man. I can't say I have a strong opinion one way or the other. It's just the way I see it right now. I can only call it how I see it.
You know, that's
I agree with what he's saying, but
elegantly put. Yeah.
When all the other games come out this year, I don't want to hear shit about graphics. I don't want to hear shit about frames or performance. Like, I don't want to hear none of that shit. I don't want to hear all this shit that niggas didn't critique Elden Ring for. I don't want to hear none of that shit for God of War. I don't want to hear none of that shit for any fucking game. Don't tell me about how the game looks. Don't tell me about how the game fucking performs. Don't tell me about shit because you guys have been disingenuous. Niggas is like, Aloy's feet is hovering on the sand. She doesn't leave footprints. In Elden Ring, niggas don't leave footprints on the beach. It's just like some generic fucking footprint. So like that's how the whole point is the critiques that are thrown against other games aren't used against certain games. So I don't want to hear this shit. Yeah. So if God of War comes out and that shit runs at 4 frames, I don't give a fuck, nigga. That shit's a 10 out of 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's stop playing games out here, bro.
You already set the precedent. So that's pretty much it.
So from what I'm hearing from you guys are upset that it's not measured the same way, like the same criticism.
It's not about this game. It's about just gaming journalists, or just people in general. That's what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I want to ask you too. Do you have Elden Ring? I didn't really keep that.
I have it, but I haven't even got a chance to play it yet. I downloaded it. Like, I've been out of town for 3 weeks, bro. I'm leaving. I was just in Mexico just now. Now I'm finally back in San Diego. About to drive 3 hours home now.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was for work.
So, well, still nice. Yeah. You know what I mean? I be going to places and I just aimlessly go to places. There's no real reason for me to go. Yeah. Like, I'm planning on going to Vegas. There's no reason for me to do that.
I was just in Vegas last weekend.
Where did you go?
So I stayed at the Venetian, but like, we were out there for a wedding. My wife was a part of the bridesmaid party. So I went with my cousin because his wife was too. So we just watched the kids. And then at night, we just hit the strip, walked around, got some drinks. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're out there for partying, go to Dre's. Should still be open. And that should have, like, they normally close like at 3 or 4 in the morning. It's popping. I can point you in direction of like all the best pool parties and all that, man.
I'm gonna get at you too, yo. With that, I'm gonna get at you because I'm waiting for one of my friends to actually, get his shit together.
Yeah,
that's how I'm supposed to be going over there. This motherfucker's taking too fucking long, man. I'm like, hurry the fuck up. Anyway,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because I'm getting antsy living, being in Jersey. But like, out of all the rhetoric that you've seen, Silky, and I know like you be trolling, you know what I mean? You have fun, which is cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can't even get mad. Some people, I can't take the trolling too much. You know what I mean? Because some people are not really trolling. They are legit.
Yeah.
Missing ill-informed. So I'm looking at a Ubisoft game now. I'm gonna pause it, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you see when you go into the menu system, this is what I was saying, Jemiah, about the quote unquote formula, right? When you hit the pause button, and I'm sure I'm just refreshing your memory in case you didn't play it for a while. We already got the compass at the top of the screen. That's already Ubisoft, which is actually in Elden Ring. But when you pause the screen, you got your skills, your inventory, your world, your quest, right? And your abilities, which has your skill points, shit like that, right? That's what they're calling the Ubisoft effect. Is if you have that compass and you have that pause menu, and then you have the abilities, the skills, the world, the quest, the codex, you know what I'm saying? That's what they're considering the Ubisoft. And I'm like, that is so ridiculous to me. But you going on to what you've seen online, are you impressed? Now I'm not talking about graphically, I'm talking about gameplay wise. The whole gamut.
Yeah.
So are you impressed with Elden Ring for what you see? Like, would you pick, like, when you look at it, like, damn, like, I gotta play that right now?
No, I mean, if I had to play it right now, I'd be playing it right now. The only thing that impresses me about Elden Ring are like the skills that the bosses have, like the fox, well, the nine tails or whatever, with the flaming sword, or shit like that. Where I'm like, oh, that'd be dope, like, because I'm an anime fan. So when I see that, I'm like, oh, that'd be dope to have on your character. Because basically, what I've seen of the game, it's about beating bosses and their skills and their armor, like tough armor, and building out the ultimate character. That's all it is. Like, you know, like if you're playing with a mage, you gotta select certain bosses to fight so you can gain certain skills that'll help you in the long run. That's what I'm impressed with. But the graphically, no, the frames, no. I watched playing it, and he has a PS5. He was playing it on a Sony TV. It doesn't have VRR or anything like that. But I know Sony runs as close to 60 frames as possible, and the shit still looked juddery to me. Like it felt weird. I don't know if he was playing on 30 frames or what, but it felt weird. Like I didn't like what I saw.
He was probably playing performance, and performance never gets up to 60 unless you look at the sky.
Yeah, that could have been what it was, but I was like, yo, man, this shit kind of makes me nauseous. Like, what is going on here? But as far as the skills, that's what I'm looking forward to with it. Just like, you know, just building a badass character. But graphically, no, I don't think it's better than anything that's come out next gen or late last gen. And like one thing you guys were saying, some of the critiques that's held against other games aren't held against on this game. Like no one's talking about the trees moving. No one's talking about like, you know, the animations or enemies floating when they swing or anything. Like I think Sony and Microsoft get a hard take because we compete against each other, you know, like if when Horizon came out, like we're all on there looking like, yeah, let me find some shit. Like these Sony dudes they're gonna hear it. When Halo came out, y'all were doing the same shit. Like, yeah, let me see Master Chief floating. Let me find anything. Like that's why they say trees don't move. Because they were saying in Master Chief the trees weren't moving. You know, it's shit like that we're just hard on each other. So I think we see it where with the Elden Ring dudes, they're kind of like the goth kids, you know, in school. Like nobody really gave a fuck what they were wearing. But if you play football and the basketball kid was wearing some bullshit, you're gonna clown him. You see the goth kid, you're like, oh, that's what he does. So I think that's why it's getting a pass, man. People are just they're not holding it to the same standard as Microsoft and Sony.
Which is unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking like when you see these games, like I get the art style, people like the art. Like I see people legitimately enjoying it. And I also see some fuckery too online talking about some there's no glitches in in no Elden Ring, but there's glitches all over Horizon. I'm like, all right, dude. Even if that was the case, it ain't like Elden Ring is rendering a whole bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got tessellation for the grass. Well, you can flatten the grass. Tessellation for the snow and sand. You got the waves that actually ripples and shit like that. You got the incredible light, and you got the almost CGI-esque fucking character models. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The clouds, all that other shit. There's a lot you can make a mistake on in that game. There's a lot of glitches. There's a lot of coding glitches that could happen.
Yeah.
Versus a painted fucking sky and some grass patches.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying? And I'm not. It's
I think Elden Ring has a way. Their aesthetic is just always on point. Like from like those Souls games, their aesthetic is always mad nice. So
no,
I can see. I can see why people can gravitate towards that. But when it comes to the actual like Demon Souls, if that shit was like Demon Souls levels of like polish, then Elden Ring. Then I could say, okay, now Elden Ring is reaching that stratosphere of next level gaming. You know what I mean?
Hey man, I gotta disagree with you on that. Like when you look at Demon Souls, it's a game basically on like you go down the hallway and fight a boss at the end and blah blah blah. Like it's very simple compared to Elden Ring. Like, and that goes back to what's his name was just saying. Like the more shit you gotta compute for, the more shit you gotta take in consideration. The more.
No, I get that. I'm just talking about the aesthetic though.
Oh, you're saying if it just looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, we ain't talking about the actual the full game because we know it's corridor based basically. Demon Souls.
Yeah.
But look at Horizon. What's the excuse for Horizon looking so good?
There is no excuse. Like
exactly. So Elden Ring could have did the same thing.
No, but what I'm saying is you compared it to Demon Souls. You didn't compare it to Horizon. Like I told.
Well, I'm just saying, like
we talk about aesthetic wise. Like if they took,
I compared it to Demon Souls as far as like somebody taking one of their games and polishing it. It's like so. Say if you gave Bluepoint Elden Ring and said, "Yo, polish this shit up," I guarantee you can make it better. I guarantee you modders will make this shit look fucking amazing. So to me, there's always room for improvement because Skyrim looks like shit. You add mods to that shit, that game looks like a different game. So you telling me that the devs couldn't do that? You know what I mean?
Yep. I think what it is, man, like I said, like Sony games and Microsoft games are held to a higher standard. If Microsoft puts out some bullshit, PlayStation fans gonna get on it, which is gonna make Microsoft fans get on it. Like, yo, you can't give us this. Like, you look at Crossfire X, like, that's not even a Microsoft game, but that shit caught so much heat that like Microsoft just wasn't advertising for it. They're like, yeah, we just gonna pretend we ain't never heard of it. Like, but if that had been a third party just publishing on their own, like people would
Anybody would have said shit.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, it's whatever.
Anybody would have said a damn thing, and that's what it is. Like, I get it, I totally get it, but I just, if you want to sit there and say that Elden Ring is one of the best games that you've played, it's fine. But when you say that Elden Ring is the best game that you ever played, and then say that it's better than Horizon Forbidden West, and I don't like Horizon Forbidden West, it's a archaic gameplay design, and like, why do you got to put another game down to say that your game is better is the question.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we're not even talking about journalists, just people.
Yeah, that's where people mess up, because video game taste is subjective, right? Like, my favorite game of last gen is Division 1. I've said it time and time again. It's Division 1, and then it's Destiny 1. Well, Destiny 2, actually. But, those games they didn't get great scores. They weren't, like, by all means, not great games. But it's my type of game to a T. It's what I like to do. It's competitive. I'm a competitive dude. So to me, those games get high marks. But I can't sit here and tell you it's better than Elden Ring or Horizon Forbidden West. All I can tell you is, hey, this is my kind of game. And that's what I try to tell people. Like, quit saying shit's better than something else. Like, unless you can completely
just like your shit. Just like your shit and keep it moving. Just feel like that game, that game ain't for me. I wasn't feeling it. Don't say that the game fails because you not feeling it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Andrew Chico was in here earlier, but his connection was really poor. But he was basically stating that, it was so many question marks, and I couldn't deal with it, man. Like, I just feel like it was just I know what he was trying to do. He'd be trolling, and act like he ain't trolling. But he was saying there was so many question marks, I didn't know what to do, and that's why when I play Elden Ring, I'm so focused on just exploring and stuff like that. That's basically a roundabout way of saying that, that's a flaw. You know what I'm saying?
Because, like I said, nobody had a problem in the first game. Nobody had a problem with Ghost. Nobody ever had a problem with the auto having all these things on the map. But all of a sudden, it's refreshing. So why did you complain about that shit in the first game? You know what I mean? Maybe they would have took it out. Maybe they would have made the game in a different direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I say. People are disingenuous with that shit, bro.
Hey, you know who I really think is pushing Elden Ring right now? PC guys.
Ooh.
PC guys.
How? PC? That shit runs like 5 frames on PC.
It runs
Steam reviews, motherfuckers hate that shit.
Yeah, no, but hear me out. It runs worse on PC, right? We all know
that,
right? Go to any major Twitch, any major Twitter guy that that considers themselves a neutral or a PC guy, and they're campaigning hardcore for Elden Ring. Like,
why is that?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I think
it's gonna bring in. It's gonna. Elden Ring is. My boy was telling me, like, he's like, yo, I seen people who don't even play Souls games streaming Elden Ring because it brings the views. It's the talk of the town. It's the darling right now. So like, if Josh right now starts streaming Elden Ring, I guarantee you he'll get more views than he gets on any other videos because people are just gravitating towards his game right now.
Yeah.
It's the moneymaker, you know what I mean?
That's what it is. So when people say that, this game Elden Ring is getting more views than X, Y, and Z, right? It's not because that it's so good. You got a lot of controversy around this game. You know what I'm saying? It's competing with a crazy ass looking game. You know what I'm saying? That released basically they were back to back, and then there's the Souls fans, and then there's people. The gamer girls that want to sit there. Like, I saw this one girl, of course she had her titties out and shit. She lost to one of the bosses. She was like, I am so devastated right now. And then she finally beat him because the Souls community, helped her out or whatever the case is, which, the hand-holding thing, right? The game doesn't hold your hand, but you want somebody else to hold your hand, though. You know what I'm saying? So you got that shit. She goes ahead. And she beats the guy. They were like, yeah, I told you he wasn't a bitch. I told you. She was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. She was British. She was like, oh my God, I can't. my hands are shaking right now. I can't. And I'm like, oh my God, man. It's like, so extra. I can't stand it, yo.
Hey.
I can't stand it.
Hey, bro, to keep it 100 with you, that's how I felt with Spider-Man, man. Like, I know it's a great game.
What you mean?
No, I know it's a great game, but I was watching people play, and they're like, oh my God, I cried. I cried when Miles Morales came out. I'm like, bro, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Like, y'all were really crying on this game? Like,
and I think people be doing the most.
People be doing the most. I think I will say that, you know what was a really official? It wasn't me crying, but it was me feeling the goosebumps. This is when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Yeah.
And what's his name? He ran through the fields. Jin Sakai, and all those birds flew out and they played the theme song and it was a title card. That did give me goosebumps like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that.
No, I know what you're saying, but like that was legit.
Did you cry?
I can't. You know what? No, I didn't. But I can't think of. I'm trying to think of what game that made me feel like. That made me feel like.
It was probably Flower. It was probably Flower on the PS4. Like, no cap, bro. Like, when the PS4 first came out, and that game, I don't know if you remember Flower.
That shit was PS3, dude.
No, it was PS4. Look it up, PS4.
They re-released it, but it was a PS3 game.
Yeah, but everybody was talking about how emotional the game is. Like,
I would kick them in their ovary, man.
I watched so many YouTubers like, yeah, when I get home from work, I just play Flower, and I just move with the wind, and the music is so great, and like it's just stress relieving, and it helps me cry. I was like, bro, man, the world is full of hoes. I don't know what's going on, man.
Yo, they be doing the most. I will say this. This is what game that got me in my feels. It was actually, now that I think about it, was Shadow of the Colossus. That was the game.
All right, you got to explain it, man.
Did you play it?
Nah, I watched my homeboy Nathan play it. The shit, at the time, you talking about on PS3, right?
PS2.
Was it on the 2? I thought it was 3. All right, well, the 2. My homeboy Nathan had it. I watched him play it, and I was like, this is cool.
When you play the game by yourself, it's a build-up, essentially. So you get an objective. The objective is basically stating that, well, you bring your girlfriend because she actually got stoned to death. You bring your girlfriend to a place where it's forbidden, and this place is known to make the dead rise, essentially.
Yeah.
And you go talk to this entity, right? I didn't cry, but I felt like it. But you go to this place, and this thing they call Dorman. He says, okay, you bring her there. You do know this place is forbidden, right? And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Well, what can you do to bring her back to life? And he says, well, if you could put me together, all my 16 pieces together, then I'll have enough power to bring her back to life. But I'm going to warn you, the price for this is large for you. The guy says, I don't care. He says, okay. The first one you go to is in that area. So you go there. By the way, they didn't have any fucking quest markers and anything. You just use the fucking light. But I digress. You know, but you go over there, you kill the first one, and each one you kill, looking at them die, I felt something. I felt shitty a little bit. Because it really didn't do anything to you, but like I was like, what is going on there? You kill your first Colossus, and then they really can't. First they big and bad, and then you just fucking rip their life force from them, and then they just fall over and their eyes go black, and they just turn into dust again. And each time you have those tendrils go into you, you physically look different. To the point where you get halfway through, which is the 8th one, and you get a premonition. And it gave me chills because you see her and then you start seeing like you look like you're getting pulled away, but you don't necessarily quite know why. And he's dreaming. So he wakes up and he goes back to her and he's like, man, I'm halfway there, man, halfway there. You do all the other shit and you get to the point where you get to the last Colossus. And you get there, you're like, oh shit, there's a big ass chasm. How the fuck am I going to get over here? You go, you back up your horse, you run that horse in, and the horse realizes that he ain't gonna make it. That horse throws you across the fucking chasm, like he bucks you over and falls himself. So I felt some kind of way with that one. Because that horse was with you the whole time, yo.
You know what game made me cry, bro?
What?
When I was playing Tetris.
You know, shut up, man. I'm tired of him.
Yo.
But
hey, I thought you were serious. I was like, what are we doing here, man?
No. What game? I didn't make me cry, but what game was like? Damn, was like fucking Telltale's The Walking Dead when Lee at the end, bruh. My boy Lee, bro. But you know what I'm saying? This nigga Lee, bro. Like the whole game just fucking being better than Joel as a father and a father figure. You know what I mean? Like this boy Lee went through the whole game, and at the end, bro, they do my boy dirty. You know what I mean? That shit was like, fuck, bro. Not my boy Lee.
Yeah, they like in terms of the Shadow of the Colossus, your fucking companion the whole time is fucking. Seemingly he died. Then you get there, right? Kill that big ass fucking dirt pile, whatever the Colossus.
It's kind of like it's also kind of like in Ghost of Tsushima. I think Sony hates ponies. They keep killing them niggas. You know what I mean?
I think so too, yo. They don't like them niggas, yo. You know, but that shit, you know, had me feeling some kind of way. You get there, right? Your girl's laying on the table, right? She's laying on the table, and you're like, I did all this fucking shit, and they finally, the people that told you not to go there, they're there right now. And you're like, it was you that fucking stole this shit and went over here and you ain't supposed to go. We fucking trusted you. You stole the fucking talisman. You still did this shit over this bitch. How the fuck could you do some shit like that? And the dude physically has horns. His eyes are fucking white. He looks demonic as hell. And he's just like, please, entity, bring this bitch back to life. That she had that wet. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
They ended up stabbing him because like they had to kill him. He had so much like evil essence in him. They stabbed him. He falls over and he's still trying to reach for the girl. He's still trying. You know what I'm saying? And like because he was like weak. So at this point in time, since he succumbed, his consciousness left essentially. The other consciousness for this demon took over. What? And he's like, whoa, huh?
Way to spoil the game.
Shut up.
I haven't played it yet.
So the guy is like, man, that shit was 30 years old, man. I don't know what to tell you. So the guy is like, the fucking entity was like, we're going to use this warrior's body, right? To tell you that, you mean, to stop you from doing this shit, whatever the case is, right? So they put a spell in the area to fucking kill the fucking entity. Remember, he looks demonic, right? So people are just going to automatically think he's demonic. What that entity did before it died is brought the warrior back to life and gave him his girl back before it died. So it was like, was it really evil? Why did they separate this motherfucker into 16 pieces? Like, what was the point of that? You never quite know. They don't hold your hand about the story. It's up to you to interpret what exactly is going on with that. So that's my whole favorite thing. But yeah, but going back to the fucking people talk about Sony games making people cry. Like I go on YouTube and I look at the Sony games, right? And then you got these crying things. I remember this girl was so ridiculous about The Last of Us Part 2. So when that event happened, she's like, "Oh no, Joe." I was like, "Shut the fuck up! It is not that deep." So
don't it make you mad, bro?
Because you know it ain't that deep, yo. Every time, yo, it's the same chicks that go on fucking line and act like it's so emotional. You know what I'm saying? There was a Spider-Man ending, the first Spider-Man, and everybody was like, "Oh no, I feel for you, Peter, Pete." You know, so you had that shit. You had that shit going on. You know, Ghost of Tsushima. You had his uncle. Oh no, Jin Sakai's the same shit. You know, I remember people was crying about Horizon Zero Dawn when they were showing Elizabeth, right? They were like, "Oh my god, she is her mother. Oh my god, please." I was like, "Oh my god." So corny, yo. It do get hyped though. But all in all, before we wrap this shit up, essentially, I'm glad. Yo, thank you, Jemiah. Thank you, and Chico and everybody else that was in here. Did Jemiah jump out? Bitch. He fucking anyway. So he knows it.
Hey, you spoiled Colossus for him.
But the way I see it, when it comes to this shit, right, is So people are just ridiculous. Let's put it that way. People are ridiculous. Elden Ring to me is a good game. It is not my game of the year. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel that way. And I have the game. Like, I don't have a need to continue to play that game. I just don't. You know, and I'm not going to get mad at anybody that feels that way. Like, it doesn't make me want to get up and be like, let me go try it. There are people that feel that way, but the reason why they feel that way is because they're trying to get their build better to annihilate the game, because the game annihilates them. You know what I mean? You get to a point where that game is...
on Twitter.
They post it on Twitter, and they want to look a certain way. They want to look like they conquered this game that was so fucking hard, which is probably the easiest Souls game out of all of them. Low key. It's pretty easy when you know what to do, because they give you things to upgrade your character just lying on the fucking ground. You can just pick it up and just, as long as you find those skulls with the glowing lights, if you find 4 of those motherfuckers thing, you can level up your character. You can level up your character twice. Just 4 of those skulls. Then you have AI companions that distract you. You know what I'm saying? And then of course the magic spells are just like way OP. Like all the way OP. You know what I mean? So it's like, is it really that hard? I mean, just because you, like, I don't have the patience to play the game is why I don't really, you know, I falter in that case. And that's all it is with that game. Patience. So long as you have patience, yo, you're good to go with that game. But anyway, I am actually done with this shit, yo. I'm glad that it didn't go